show you on how to install the CTS-V system here in our shop, leveled, using a level. Of course, we're on a lift. Some of you may be on the floor, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you. But if you have access to a lift, this is how simple it is. To speed this up, the process, we already have the system laid up into the car. I'm just going to show you how to go ahead and level it, snug it down, and make sure that the tips exit in the proper location and the car looks symmetrical underneath as well. These front leads connect to the outlet of the factory CAT and a factory OEM connection point. Then those leads will go ahead and get inserted into the X-pipe. The X-pipe is already put into place. Then what we have is our midsections. The midsections run along the bottom of the car. They have the 90-degree bend once you get past the axles, the rear axles, to go ahead and get into the mufflers, which will exit the back of the vehicle. Biggest important thing when you do this is to make sure that the rear exit of the X-pipe is completely level. So when you look here and you can see on the level, they are not. Most guys will say to themselves, what do I do to get it there? It's a little elbow grease. So what you can do is you can take a pry bar and you'll notice that the system is installed and it's up in the car, but it's snugged down. It's not completely tight yet. So you can go ahead and you can rotate the X-pipe until it's level. Here you see I went the wrong way. So we're going to go the opposite way and rotate it down. Now you can see that the X-pipe is leveled in the car. So the easiest thing to do at this point, once you have the X-pipe leveled in the car, is go ahead and tighten up the front connection points and the front clamps, ensuring that the front section will not move from this point. We'll go ahead and make sure that this is still level. Now you can see from doing it, it pulled just a little bit. So what we'll do here is go ahead and rotate it a little bit more. Remember, the clamps that we just tightened down, we just snugged them down a little bit tighter. This way we still have some adjustability, but at the same time we don't have to worry about stuff moving continuously. Now, if you look, that's perfect. Now, what I always like to do is take some shims. Make sure the midsections are completely lined up through the tunnel. By doing this, you can enter shims in the tunnel of the car to keep them exactly where you wanted them. Now they can't move. They can't go left and right. They can't go forward. They can only go forward and back. So once that's shimmed and that's in place, you can look through the remainder of the system and shim it where it needs to be shimmed. So you can make sure that there's no point of contact anywhere on the system, because what's going to happen is as you tighten up the system, things will move. They'll pull from left to right. You'll put more pressure on the hangers. That's what it's supposed to do. You can see now with the shims in place, the whole entire exhaust is completely centered in the tunnel. The tips, however, might be a little off on the outlet side. So what you're going to do at this time, since the X-pipe is mounted in place, you're going to come check and see how the tips look. Proper clearance, same distance around the valances. I use the old finger method to make sure. If the tip is not lined into the valance properly, there's adjustment here. You can move the muffler. The mufflers rotate. So now that I say that the tips are where we would want them to be as far as spaced around the rear valance and the outlet hole, like they are, we can go ahead and start snugging up the system. Now, once you get to this point, you want to go ahead and check the placement of the tips again. Make sure that they haven't moved and they haven't dropped. Very particular as far as how the tip should exit the back of the vehicle, because that's what most everybody sees. Nobody's really looking underneath the car to see your exhaust. They're all looking at the back of the car. And once that looks good, everything else will follow suit. Plus, once you're up here too, if you look down the center of the vehicle, you can see that the entire exhaust system is flat with the vehicle belly of the car. That's a proper installation of a CTS-V system. Now, what I'm going to show you is the final touch. What you're going to do is once you get to that point, you're going to send everything home from the back going forward. You got to remember, guys, when you install the system, you snug it up front to back. Once everything's leveled, spaced, you're going to tighten the system, and the tips are aligned in the valance. You're going to tighten the system as far as final assembly back to front. Now we've tightened up 2, 4, 6, 8 connection points. Now you'll see from here, once everything's tightened up in this manner, the X-pipe still remains completely leveled. So now that the whole entire system is completely in tight, the shims that I placed in earlier, if you notice when you remove the shims now, the exhaust won't move. It'll stay exactly where you put it, and the shims held it there. So as you tighten it, the material and the exhaust itself can't move left to right because the shims stop it from doing that. Guys, this is the correct way to install our CTS-V system. Whether it's the coupe, whether it's the sedan, or whether it's the wagon like what we're working on today. It takes a little extra time, but the end result is well worth it.